There is such a creature in the world. They were discovered by a few people, but it has not been confirmed to exist. We refer to this group of creatures as unidentified organism, UMA for short. Hello and welcome to the UMA video series. If you are anywhere in the world, most likely to exist, large species that have not yet been discovered by humans, that is without a doubt our vast sea monsters from all over the world, lots of hens, like the sea serpent we talked about before, and so on. These stories are full of bizarre colors, events and eyewitness accounts. It constantly inspires people's curiosity and desire to explore, and today I'm going to share with you. It is another strange and unique sea monster, Suzuki. Giant jellyfish. Giant jellyfish, as the name suggests, it can be simply understood as a way beyond human cognition. The large invertebrate, zooplankton, the noun itself. It is generally used to refer to the currently known, the largest jellyfish species in the world. Arctic gap jellyfish, also known as missing jellyfish, the maximum diameter of its umbrella. It can reach about 2.5 meters. The tentacles can reach a terrifying 36 meters. But the giant jellyfish in this video, it could be several times the size of the missing jellyfish, even a dozen times. Imagine that, a huge tentacles prey on large fish and poisonous underwater creatures. What kind of image should it be? 1957, British science fiction writer Eric Frank Russell. It contains a series of phenomena that challenge the system and compile it into a book. It's called World Mystery. These are also some of his few non-fiction works. There is a book dedicated to sea monster-themed creations, and mentioned a story from 1953. A man named Australian diver at Crystal Flop encountered while working in the South Pacific giant sea monster sighting report. Here's what the person said. A 15-foot shark, always wandering around me, but he didn't try to attack me. I kept wondering how deep he would dive. He was about 30 feet away from me, hovering about 20 feet taller than me, and I came underneath a jutting rock. It's an unfathomable fissure. It's dangerous to keep diving. I stood there and looked down into the abyss, and the sharks are waiting for my next move. Suddenly the water got noticeably colder. When the water temperature drops at an alarming rate, I see a black object rising from the darkness of the abyss, floating very slowly upward. When the last light fell on him, I can see it. It was a huge dark brown object. It's flat as a hole. The edges are jagged. An estimated 1 British feet. He was beating very slowly, although no limbs or eyes were seen. But I know he's a living being. This terrifying shadow is still moving when he floated over my height. The cold has become extremely intense. I don't know if it's because the water temperature is too low or because of fear. The shark is just hanging there motionless. And as I watched, mesmerized, the brown behemoth approached the shark and touched him with its upper surface. The shark immediately convulsed and trembled. Without resistance, he was sucked into the monster's body. I stood there, too afraid to move, and the brown object came to the surface like him, slowly sinking into the abyss, disappear into the darkness, and it's starting to warm up. God knows what this is, but I have no doubt. It comes from the primordial muck beneath countless heroes. A diver on the 1968 Chilean water temperature expedition. He also describes a similar encounter in 1969. Soviet writer, chemist Mikhail Yemtsev and Ir Mepelnov. Meeting with witnesses in France, they interviewed the latter and documented the process in detail in their writings. In 3 cross-curricular, due to the article, is a narrative in the first meetup. So, and I'll just summarize the key takeaways here. There were 7 of them. On a research ship called the Stargazer, to Anagua Island off the Bahamas, aimed to study isotopic composition pairs of different water bodies, the impact of animal metabolism when they dive deep enough. A leopard shark slowly swims towards the diver, followed by a drooping shark, and schools of fish that seem to be on the run. Just then, it happened. Here's what the witness said. Everything happens in seconds. I didn't even have time to get through the intercom, warn the team of the danger they are about to face. I saw that thing. A large brown object. The edges are dark blue. They're like jellyfish. Slowly swim up from the depths, like a dirty impenetrable mist. He covered all the blue. There seems to be no end to everything. I'm afraid my estimated size is wrong. He's obviously over a square kilometer in size. Bubbles flickering on a quivering, charred body, fading into the silt in the distance. His edges are like a giant powder cross-dressing murder weapon. Swing slowly. He rose slowly from the abyss like a ghost. Silent terror incarnate. I know what happened. Also saw everything. But my body is like the surroundings. Frozen frame shot. You can't move. Sharks will also be there. And the brown object just stopped. Hovering on a shark. Bottom. Then it was as if a current hit everything. All fish are crooked. The tremors started to sink in. The bubbling object is like a cup of sugar, melted into jelly. See here, eyewitness, instantly overwhelmed by an indescribable fear. He expressed that. I couldn't lift a finger. I just know it's pitch black. Arrhythmia. The body becomes disobedient. He stooped down, slowly fall into the abyss. When he woke up from the Moscow hospital, it's been 2 months. And all the while, he was in a coma. Captain Genia told him. Magister of the rescue team, when he was powerless, dropped about, at a depth of 10 meters, and they caught up with him. His teeth were clenching into his mouth. Inability to breathe due to body cramps. Including the captain. People who went to the rescue saw that huge brown monster. I took the paralyzed fish, slowly sinking into the cracks. When the divers were rescued on board, the captain immediately decided to bomb the thing. But it didn't end up doing enough damage. The gap torn by the explosion slowly closed. In the end, only dead fish were left scattered on the water. In 1974, the American paranormal investigator Richard Wenner wrote in his book, written in the book Devil's Triangle, November 1969. He was working for General Electric at the time. Do 1. Underwater filming for marine research projects, about 14 miles south of Bermuda. 30 to 40 feet of water. Saw the thing that had puzzled him for years. It was evening. Dim light shines through the sea. Appears distorted. He had just filmed the movement of an instrument buoy. I used up the last film. Then his security guard, Pat Portlet, grabbed him by the shoulder and pointed down. Immediately after, and he saw this enormous deep-sea behemoth. Here's what Renner said. I saw a shocking scene. I can't tell you how deep he is. I don't know how old he is. He's probably about 100 feet below us. It could be 150 feet. I can only roughly estimate his size. It could be 100 feet wide. It could be 75 feet. But never less than 50 feet in diameter. It takes on a perfect deep purple circle. It's slowly moving towards us. It's pink around the edges. And slow fluctuations. But the current didn't change. When we start the upper abdomen, he also stopped rising, then slowly descend. Back to the dark depths. We looked at him in awe. Until the breath disappears. A long time has passed. They have been unable to confirm. What kind of creature was that? Pat speculated that it was a giant squid. But until one day, Richard Wenner, Mayuri Head in the Marshall Islands, saw a swarm of jellyfish, realizing the enormous creature he encountered that day. That's exactly what a jellyfish does. Later, in response to this incident, he was admitted to the home of an American occult zoologist, interview with Manga Capra, and I ended up with this drawing of the creature. Time has come to the 21st century. Russian journalist and writer, Vlad Velinov in his 2010 The Secret Art of the Four Oceans, for a series of events including the above. Giant invertebrate sightings. Input was made, mentioned May 1990. Russia refers to Emiya Shah. Reports of mass die-offs of marine animals abound. Environmentalists everywhere, attributing this incident to being quoted by the media. Difficult prospect accident, or the military of a country, caused by cleaning chemicals in the sea. Leningrad, biologists at the Institute of Hydrometeorology conducted independent inspection. The conclusion is, the death of these marine creatures is affected by some kind of biotoxin. In Russia, there is no chemical industry that produces these toxins. Fast forward to 1991 and 92. Many regions of the world, including coastal Canada, North Carolina, USA, Gulf of Mexico and Sea of Japan, all happened, like fish and the ocean, biological mass death event. Scientists eventually attributed this to some kind of undiscovered marine life. Although it may be due to the Russian literature I was looking for, data direction is wrong, or the strictness of the standards. I couldn't find any relevant reports from that year, and expert papers, but if there are researchers come to this conclusion, combined with human destruction of the oceans in recent years, I personally think, throw the pot into a world that can ecologically destructive, and known creature, obviously not very convincing. In addition, Vlad Velinov is still in the book. Recorded at 2:05. A report in the French media. The report mentions French diver Henry Astor. Signed with a Thai company. Invited to work in the Gulf of Thailand. That day, he and his companions rode a special protective dragon. Descended from the mothership to a depth of approximately 80 meters. I didn't stop diving until I saw a school of big fish. Just then, they noticed a strange phenomenon. I saw the abyss below. A strange brown object of unimaginable size. It is slowly rising in the direction of the school of fish. When he reaches 10 to 15 meters away from the school of fish, the fish were suddenly acting weird. Individuals suddenly become rigid. Then roll over sideways. Slowly sink the brown mass. Immediately after, all the fish around met the same fate. Henry's partner ignored his objections. Decided to take a closer look downstream. What's up? And 15 minutes later, he didn't come back. Henry immediately raised the alarm. As the rescuers descended to their position, we found nothing. That brown behemoth has sunk into the depths of the sea. They even found the body of the diver. Didn't find it either. Above, there are reports of giant jellyfish sightings. In fact, for what is currently known, the eyewitness to the giant jellyfish, is it a jellyfish or not? The opinions of relevant scholars are not uniform. Editor of the discarded publication of the International Organization of the United Nations, Paul Willis, in a 1972 magazine, The Sighting of Christopher Flop in '53. The analysis is carried out in the article. He believes that although the event is dated 1953, but because of the eyewitness accounts we're seeing now, it's the editor's original text on Professor Russell, offer a reduced version. So we can't verify a lot of information. But he thinks this incident cannot be completely characterized as fiction, because of the creatures described by eyewitnesses. Sounds a lot like life in the deep sea. Giant individual of an umbrella-shaped octopus. The mysterious zoologist mentioned above, the family, Manchopora, makes it clear in the work. Giant jellyfish near Bermuda. It's possible. He believes that despite the size of the organism, it's limited in many ways. But in terms of the jellyfish species found, it is theoretically possible that there is indeed a larger types of jellyfish that have not yet been discovered by humans. Dr. Carl Schuck, a mystic zoologist, believes, recording, the divers didn't see any tentacles in the creature. Some hedgehogs, in particular, the deep-sea species really didn't take action. The sudden paralysis of the shark. You can also use the poison of giant jellyfish literacy to explain. It specifically mentions a phase here. Similar species, elemental jellyfish. This is a very rare large jellyfish. It belongs to the yang deficiency jellyfish family. Nis-shot-yak in the Pacific, North Atlantic, and the cold waters around Antarctica. Umbrella is wide and thin. The largest individual diameter ever discovered, reach about 1 meter. The surface of the umbrella is distributed, massive magnets and cilia, unlike our common sea jellyfish. The species of the elemental jellyfish did not act. They are average. By the extensibility of the bulk body, the prey is wrapped, then kill it with the test body. This creature, they usually live at a depth of about 500 to 1,800 meters, low like medium water. And in terms of form and habit, the giant jellyfish seen by eyewitnesses, except for body size differences, it is indeed very similar to the elemental jellyfish. You talk about spiny packs. Mystic zoologist Professor Chad Almonte, in the 2000-year review of the North American revival, mentioned a report from the Internet News Group. The author of the article recounts his deceased friend, George Eyre, in the 1970s, cognitive Gulf oil's underwater welders. While working on an oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico, he had seen something so massive that he couldn't describe it. Invertebrate. For the size of that creature, humans are like ants. It was the first time he had seen such a thing. The last time I was afraid. This is him getting on the first helicopter back. He has not seen the sea since then. Black ear description. The color and texture of the unwell are like sea anemones. The shape is similar to a starfish or a water system. This incident, it depicts something other than jellyfish, another unknown giant. Filamentous. In fact, considering all the known information mentioned above, I think the credibility of giant jellyfish sightings to be considered, but there is still the possibility that this creature exists. First, the origin of all sightings. I don't think it's very clear. I didn't find any original report or detailed records of interviewee information. The original manuscript to the 1953 data, missing subject information in the 1968 incident, the finger plumb files mentioned in the 2010 vintage data, etc. All these events. It was like hearing a legend. Remember the stories he heard from his mouth. Of course, this may be my personal authority factor, or poor information due to some historical issues. but I still feel like there's a critical element of reproducibility missing, and there is a possibility that this creature exists, is because I think the jellyfish is an animal. Its own environmental adaptability is strong enough, almost everywhere in the world, and found in waters of all depths. And the ecological performance of individual populations is amazing. Species like the lighthouse jellyfish, by diluting in water, and jellyfish develop in reverse. Theoretically, it is possible to avoid external factors, obtain immortality. And the jellyfish, it is one of the oldest multi-organ animals on Earth. Modern research shows that this creature 700 million years ago. Even earlier new sources have appeared in ancient times. Old enough evolutionary history, amazing biological properties, coupled with the inclusiveness of the majestic sea, we have reason to believe a colony of giant jellyfish likely to live there, under the abyss that has not been explored by humans. And that's just my guess. But I also believe, with the continuous development and progress of human civilization, sooner or later, we can overcome the difficulties and risks of deep-sea exploration. It is truly the most mysterious place on Earth. Okay, that's the last sentence. The unknown is always greater than the known. This is also the charm of human. This video is here. Thanks for watching.